you, because I've had people suggest this to me. Has Josh Allen now made himself the best quarterback in the NFL?
Josh Allen, the best quarterback in the NFL. I love Josh Allen, but I don't even know that he's 1, 2, or 3 in the NFL. I mean, Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady are still in the league. And yes, eventually Josh Allen will take his place amongst the top 2, I would guess. But Patrick Mahomes, every single season, has still had more touchdowns and fewer interceptions. He's still had more passing yards, still had a better completion percentage every single season than Josh Allen. So no, Josh Allen is not the best quarterback in the NFL. And even once Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady retire, I still don't think that he'll necessarily be the top quarterback in the NFL.
Sacho, go.
Jeff, Josh Allen can run the ball as well. Josh Allen over the last 2 years has ran as a quarterback for over 1,100 yards. Josh Allen as a quarterback the last 2 years has accounted for 79% of his team's touchdowns. That's more than anybody in the entire NFL, including Patrick Mahomes. And so, yes, I think that Josh Allen is on his way to being the best quarterback in the NFL, not only because of his passing ability, 73 touchdowns, 25 picks over the last 2 years, but also his ability to run the ball. There was a situation last year against the Chiefs in the AFC in their divisional game where it was 4th down, first series of the game, about, 4th and 3 or so, 4th and 2. They had Josh Allen keep the ball on a quarterback sweep, and he ran for 10 yards. He does this consistently, and so his play is more than just passing the ball or throwing touchdowns. He can run the ball as well, and that's what makes him great.
You know, and I want to get Neek in here. Jeff, I'll come back to you. But, you know, Neek, I remember when he first came into the league, we were talking about him and the similarities to Cam Newton, and that's where that comes up. He's developed himself into a better passer than Cam ever became. But he still has that element in his game, too, Neek. I think his best calling card is he runs the ball with a level of power that we haven't really seen many quarterbacks do.
And he had the greatest improvement, I think, of any individual player in NFL history. So, like, early in his career, I was very wrong about Josh. I guess I was right about who he was then, but he's growing into this really, really great quarterback. And the reason why I would pick him in this conversation is he's returning all of his weapons, most importantly, Stephon Diggs, which was the big acquisition that allowed him to open up this level of gameplay. The rest of these guys who you would put in front of him, I wouldn't put Tom Brady in front of him, but I understand putting Mahomes and Rodgers in front of them. They're losing their number 1 overall weapons. They have to at least take a step back. The talent around Josh Allen has gotten better last time we saw him, which was him throwing 9 touchdowns and no interceptions across 2 playoff games. I don't think it's outrageous to consider Josh Allen the best quarterback or potential to be the best quarterback in football this season.
Jeff, we'll put the pick bars up there here, and we'll get everyone, but I'll give you a quick final word. Go.
Well, I think that if Patrick Mahomes, I hate that this is becoming criticism of Josh Allen. It's not. But if Patrick Mahomes is the better passer in every single category, he is the better quarterback. Yes, Josh Allen does a great job on the ground. Patrick Mahomes also does a pretty decent job running the football. If you look at his numbers, no, they're not Josh Allen's potential, but I still put passing above running when it comes to the quarterback position. Both guys can do things really well in both regards, but Patrick Mahomes is the better quarterback.
He says Mahomes will be the best quarterback in the NFL this year. Acho, who do you think it is?
I think it'll be Josh Allen for a lot of the reasons that Neek just stated. He's returning his 2 best receivers, and the other quarterbacks we've talked about aren't. Number 1. Number 2, he is getting better. He's early in the season, early in his career, people didn't think he was going to be good, and he's gotten better. Second in MVP 2 years ago. He's dominant. It's going to be Josh Allen this year.
Neek.
Yeah, I got Josh Allen, and it's not just I wouldn't argue that he's a more talented quarterback than Patrick Mahomes, but I think who's going to have the better season, all those other quarterbacks you named have MVP trophies. I think Josh Allen, with the returning talent, is going to go out and try to make a point that he hasn't been able to make yet. So, I think you're right, Darlington. I picked one quarterback, it's Mahomes, but if we're picking who's going to have the best season next year, I think it's got to be Josh Allen.
Right. Yeah, I would have agreed with either one of those, but I went with the more obvious choice of Zach Wilson of the New York Jets.
Yeah.
He's got...
Makes them a playoff, play-in team?
No, playoff, not play-in.
Top 8?
Top 6.
Top 6?
Yes. That's a playoff team.
I'll answer for
it.
I'll answer for
It gets him out of relegation.
I'll answer for
Tim Bontemps, KD will be a Net next season. Is that fact or fiction?
As of now, I'm going to say fact, as we've talked about a bunch. The offers that the Nets are looking for are not there, and I think until that changes, I think he's going to be a Net. And with the getting past Summer League, going into the offseason now, everybody's going on vacation here for a bit. More and more likely every day, I think, that he's going to be a Net. So I'll say fact.
Well, here's the good news. The man who never takes vacation is sitting next to me, and that's Adrian Wojnarowski. No one can answer this question better than you can. So, Woj, I have been campaigning on this show for the last week for the Nets to bring this thing back. And I know Alan disagrees with me, and I will give you the floor in a second. But, look, they put together KD, Kyrie, and Ben Simmons because they thought, well, here's something that might actually win a championship. And we've never seen them play together. So unless they're getting offered the king's ransom that it's become clear from your somewhat quiet Twitter feed on this subject, they're not getting offered, then to me it makes sense to run this thing back. As each day goes by, does it actually get likelier?
Well, yes, as each day goes by, it does. But the Nets are still trying to find a deal for Kevin Durant. I think if Kevin Durant came to Brooklyn and said, hey, I've changed my mind, I want to be here, I'm committed to this, well, of course they would want him to stay. But if Kevin Durant's not doing that, you're still trying to trade him. You want players who want to be there. You don't want the environment to be filled with players who are unhappy, who don't want to be a part of it, but they've got to get value for him, and they've got to get significant value for him. And the trade scenarios out there are still complex. Miami is a very motivated team, but we've been through it. Bam Adebayo and Ben Simmons can't be on the team together based on their contracts. There would have to be a lot of third and fourth team involvement. Phoenix is a little more limited now because they can't trade DeAndre Ayton. They were never going to trade Devin Booker. Do they have enough assets to do it? Toronto doesn't want to part with Scotty Barnes. That's their stance. I mean, Brooklyn right now wouldn't consider a deal without Scotty Barnes. And there are still other teams out there. But I think for the Nets, because Kevin Durant's got 4 years left on his deal, this is different than Kawhi Leonard, 4 years ago when he was going into the last year of the deal. That situation had hung over the Spurs. It was right around this time they moved him. There's no deal imminent for Brooklyn, but they are still trying to find a trade.
And to Adrian's point, when we were out in Summer League, the message you got from other teams was, we know that the Nets are in a position where they have a guy who doesn't want to be on their team, and so therefore they don't feel the need to put in every chip they've got because they don't think the Nets have a lot of leverage. And that's why you're in this push and pull here where the Nets have to try to keep extending this out, try to show they can have him be on the team, that they can deal with a situation where people might not be completely comfortable, because that's the only way they can generate leverage. Otherwise, everybody just looks at it and says, they have to make a deal, we'll wait the Nets out, they'll bring their price down, and we'll make a deal we like.
All right, so, Alan, you cover basketball day to day here in this city, but primarily with the Knicks, but you obviously are as in tune with the Brooklyn situation as almost anyone could be. You think that bringing that group back would be what?
A disaster. You just saw what the last 2 years were like, and now you're bringing back not just Kevin, who doesn't want to be there anymore, but you're also bringing back Kyrie Irving, who you aren't showing loyalty to. And you were showing loyalty to him in the last couple of years, and he hasn't really wanted to play or wanted to do a lot of things for you. Can you imagine that? So who's rooting for the scenario of bring it all back and just, play this out? The tabloids. They want this. They want to see this thing melt down into the ground and then just roll into the East River and die. That's what they want to see. They want to watch this completely detonate because that makes great headlines. For years, it was, can the Nets win a championship in New York before the Knicks do? It's been 50 years. Can they do it? They might. They've got this team. They can do it. No longer is that the watch anymore. Now it's, boy, what more can happen with this? What else could go on? Wait, if Kyrie knows that they don't really have loyalty to him, what is he going to do now? How much is he going to do or how little is he going to do for the team, knowing that I've got 1 year and then I'm out of here? So it wouldn't make sense to do it, but I understand the leverage part of it. What else can you do other than take an awful return for one of the great players?